what's going on? I'm going to be going over this template for a little bit, showing off a little sound design extravaganza here. So, it'll be quick and dirty, just going to play through this and show off a little bit of the stuff like this. We'll go through. Yeah, this is just for a quick sample to show everybody what's going on. So. All right. So, got a little breakdown here. The reason why I'm doing this is I'm going to be rebuilding my entire template in Logic Pro, trying to isolate all of my studio music composition stuff onto my MacBook and use my PC here for gaming and streaming and doing the recording of all that stuff, video wise. Quick breakdown all at the top. I'll zoom in so we can see everything that we got here. Each one of these VSTs, I sit with contact and play and a whole bunch of other things, right? But so this has a multi-timbral thing, right? So we got winds. I've got a bunch of different winds stuff. So we have sustains, articulations, staccatos, whole step, half step trills, right? And I do the same thing with the brass on these. These are just a overall like brass section, overall wind section, overall string section. And I use these tracks for mainly doing sketch, getting things out, ideas out in a quick manner so I can hear kind of the whole thing. Same concept here. We have a bunch of different patches loaded into this single instance of contact. If we look at the where's my mixer? Right here. If we look at my mixer, you can see how many VSTs I'm actually using. That does not reflect the track count. So many VSTs are one instance of contact with multiple patches loaded into it, right? But I have about 82 separate VSTs, a couple extra, reverb effects patches that we run, just so we can put everything in the same space. That's a, orchestral scoring tip when we do mock-ups and things like this. Different libraries all sound different, so I've got a lot of contact stuff with Cinesamples, and that's a lot of this blue stuff. So I've got strings, brass, winds, and a Cine percussion, a bunch of different like low things with monster hits, pianos and harps. This one is actually with play. So these are I can't remember the exact one. East West libraries, right? So I have different libraries to make them kind of all sound like they were sitting in the same space. I learned this from a friend of mine saying basically, hey, put the same amount of reverb as a send on all these different instruments and kill the reverb in the actual VST itself. So that way everything else sits in the same space. Same thing here with our flutes and piccolos. I've got a whole slew of all these things sitting up here, right? And we can see the naming for all these. So I've got piccolo. So we have sustain, staccato, and key switch, right? Key switch is there just because so I can flip back and forth through stuff if I want to really, really hear that thing. But again, this trick, so we, instead of using just key switch to switch back and forth, I have a separate track that I can use for sustains, a separate track that I can use for staccato. I have a separate track for the solo flute sound, right? A solo flute staccato key switch, a 3 flute section, right? 3 flute section 2. So I use one, flute 2. Same thing, a sustain, a staccato, and a key switch for each one. So this is cool because this is, about 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different tracks right here. But this is all one VST. So I have 12 different MIDI channels on this one VST. This kind of really helps at the end of the day. And I've noticed this in Logic too. If you're using multiple patches within one instance of the VST, it sits all of it on the same thing, right? So if I gotta scroll, this is so large, I gotta scroll it on my screen. So all the piccolos and flutes, that is one VST. The oboes, English horns, that's another VST. Clarinets, one VST. Bass clarinet, another VST, right? So if I click on each one of these, you'll see which ones I have loaded in. And let's get that mixer view out of the way. So the same thing, like a whole wind section, right? So flutes, clarinets, bass clarinets, oboe, English horn. These are great out. I haven't used these. Saxophone choir, not the best. I don't have a really great saxophone library. So it's a modulation within a synth. And piccolo trumpet, didn't use that in this one, so I just kind of disabled the tracks to save a little bit of processing power. So trumpets, I've got all these fancy little trumpets right here. So here would be trumpet 1, right? And this one gives me a solo trumpet, sustain, staccato, key switch, a 4 trumpet section, same thing, sustain, staccato, key switch. And then I have trumpet 2 on its own VST, right? So that way, when I get to the mixer, I actually can use trumpet 1, trumpet 2, trumpet 3, right? Same thing in play. And then I have just a different section so I can have kind of a different sound when it comes to the trumpets. And all the way through. So yellow is all brass. I've got the low brass stuff right here. I did more contact with these. I just really like the way this sounds in terms of the section wise. A bunch of percussion. Of course, I'm a percussionist, so I got a bunch of percussion in here. And, and this ranges from all kinds of stuff. So I have a bunch of east-west stuff in here, a bunch of contact stuff as well. Where's all my contact? I've got a whole bunch of contact. I actually did pull some of the stuff from my VDL library too. Really, once you start listening to the other things in these, like the vibraphone from Center Percussion, and it's just hands down way better. But again, it gives it that orchestral sound, not the kind of marching arts sound that we like, when we're doing those types of arrangements. But I have the entire mock-up available, so if I wanted to use that type of sound, or just to emphasize it, or do doubling so it kind of sounds louder, or articulates a little bit better, the celeste, tubular bells, all these extra things. So I've got a whole slew of percussion, and then strings. This one's pretty heavy as well. I like the east-west strings a little bit better than I like the Cinesample strings for like the whole section stuff. The Cinesample strings, like I said, I use the section strings to get ideas, right? Use those as sketch tracks, but all of these, they have the same thing, solo violin. And I separated them out into like violin 1, violin 2, violas, cellos, double bass. So I sectioned them out as if you would a whole orchestral section. But this is all one VST for violin 1, right? I've got the solo sounds. I've got the 11 sections and the 18 sections as well, both marcatos, staccatos, sustains, pizzicato. Same thing I did for violin 2. Violas, sustain, marcato, staccato, pizzicato, that. Cellos as well. I did a solo cello section. So solo, sustain, marcato, staccato, pizzicato, and then an entire section as well. Section sound for those 10 cellos, sustain, marcato, staccato, etc. Right? Same thing with double basses, sustain, marcato, staccato, pizzicato, and a key switch. Down here, all synthesizer stuff, right? UVI, this was a great one. This was a free. This was free back in however many years ago when I was working with Pro Tools, and it's served me many years, even to this day. I use Contact as well. I have a bunch of Contact synths that I pull from Contact 7. I forgot what it was called. Let me look real quick. Nope. Complete Contact. So they have like the Complete Contact series. I have that library as well. All of these extra little things that we've used, right? Bunch of extra sound design tools. And like I said, this is the majority of what I'm going to be rebuilding a template in Logic Pro with. For the marching arts people with main stage, I'll be building that out too. I got to start looking out a lot of the simple, the patches that appear in both Logic and main stage. I want to be able to get way more familiar with those so I can use those much more on a daily basis. Labs, this one was also free. This is great. A bunch of sound effects. One of my favorite ones in this is the where is it? The bird songs and the soltasto like these extended technique stuff from all these. The string swell, really cool sounding stuff, right? And then riser, this is a simple kind of granular type. It has all these different things, and a lot of the times when I play with this, I'll just keep pushing the randomize button until I find something that I kind of like, and then figure out from there how to tweak it with all these types of things, right? Rise and Hit is one of my favorite sound design tools that I've purchased as of recently. Whoa, get out of here, NVIDIA overlay. Simple whoosh and boost type stuff, right? I've got a couple extra of these that I've used. I've yet to dive into this library in detail, so I just got 4 instances that I've set up with only one. In my Logic Pro template, which I'm going to try to stream as I go through this, I'm going to set up one channel, one instance of Contact. I'm just going to pick out, I'm going to max out as many as I can, so about 16 channels for the for different sounds that I like, and I'll try to organize them as orchestral things, kind of things, and I'll show you right here actually. When we get to Rise and Hit, we go to Instruments, Hybrid Orchestra. So there's orchestral, there's hybrid, orchestra, hybrid sounds, instruments, percussives, Into the Void, which is a complete crazy way to do this, and it's really cool. Really, really cool. So there's the whole template. It's about, I don't know, if I had to count these, probably about 150, maybe 200 total. And again, a lot of these are just out of the way. There's a big section of these out of the way, like the piccolo trumpets, the choir, the trombone section, and the French horn section. I did the same thing with these, like solo French horn, staccato, pizzicato, or not pizzicato, staccato, marcato, and the sustained sounds for a lot of these as well. And like I said, these aren't used in this particular song that I was working on, so I just disabled them to save a little bit of CPU power, packed them up in the folder so I don't have to look at them as much. Play this one last time, then I'm going to get out of here. This video is a lot longer than I wanted it to be, so here we go. you stayed through the whole thing, I super appreciate it. Leave me a comment. Reach out to me if you have any questions whatsoever, feedback. I love it, man. Thanks. Appreciate y'all.